Good morning, this is Bill Kennick on May 17th of the year 2024. And we've come today to speak of many things. We've come today to speak of cabbages and kings. And the kings specifically we're talking about is the rulership of the United States. And this has something to do with the Pluto return of February the 22nd, 2022. When Pluto comes around, I've talked about this before, but when Pluto comes around to its natal position, and in this case, the United States being founded on, or incorporated, you might say, in a wider sense, in 1776, July 4th, Pluto was in the horoscope at a certain point in the chart, see? And then Pluto takes 250 years to go around the zodiac. And when it comes back to that same point, then it is said to have a Pluto return. Now, nobody that I know ever lived to be 250 years. So individuals might have Pluto aspects, but not a Pluto return. But, if you wanted to know what happens, well, look at a Pluto. Look at when Pluto makes the 30 degrees, 45 degrees. You could make it 90 degrees, and that would be 1/4 of 250. Pluto would come around. Now, in my case, I'm 77, and Pluto was in 12 of Leo when I was born, and now it's in 0 of Aquarius. So that's half the circle, almost, which you would expect to be 120 years. So then the other funny thing about Pluto is that it has a very eccentric orbit. In other words, someday Pluto, well, it's already been, demoted from being an actual planet to a large dwarf planet. And its orbit is completely irregular, meaning that it's probably an escaped moon of Neptune, because let's see, 3 orbits of Neptune seems to coincide with 2 orbits of Pluto. And so and the Pluto orbit goes inside the orbit of Neptune. So they intersect, and there's some definitely harmonic relationship between Neptune and Pluto, and a timing relationship, which is the harmonic relationship. So, in fact, they two come so close together they could collide, in theory, because once they were maybe one of the same, and the one escaped from the other. This is what astronomers do, figure this out. But in astrology, all we're trying to explain is why, in the case of my chart, not that anybody cares about my chart, but just saying that, in 1947, it was in 12 of Leo, and now it's, and that's about the same as the great leaders of this country at this time are about my age. Donald Trump is 1 year older. Hillary Clinton's about 2 months younger. All these old farts that are about my age have that Pluto in Leo. So, so now Pluto's coming around to Aquarius. And so it'll be a while before it gets to 12, but it's coming, But you see, that's normally would take 120 years, right? It's half of 250. 125 years, but it's coming more like 77 because of the irregular orbit of Pluto. All right. Anyway, that's not what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about is the meaning of, or the astrological meaning, based on this astronomical weird fact. Astrology, of course, is highly speculative, and most people in their right minds don't believe in it. Nevertheless, I do. So I believe in astrology. And, you know, you got to be careful, you know, what people say. Right now, most of the astrology you see on the internet is, you know, nothing more than pop psychology. They don't really get to the nitty-gritty because nobody wants to hear about it. You know, everything, they want only good news. You know, it's like you go to church, there's no hell anymore. You know, there's no devil. There's only God. No devil. And so with astrology, mostly, there's no God. There's a God, you know, and good things can happen if you think right and behave. And there's no devil, you know. However, in this astrology of Bill Kennick's, Pluto is, well, it could be kind of a devil, you know, and you know, there are consequences for your actions, and as a matter of fact, there are consequences for other people's actions that happen to you. Yeah. Now, what's so surprising about that? I mean, did you start the war? You know, wherever you live on the earth. You know, have you been called into war or drafted, or you know, I mean, what did you have to do with starting the war that you ended up being killed in you know, in many a conflict, because governments start wars, you know, and they all they're saying is that there are things that are beyond your control. You know, no amount of positive thinking is going to stop an earthquake, and no amount of positive thinking is going to stop World War II, or for that matter, World War III when it comes in. Well, I don't know when it's going to come, you know, or if, but nothing's going to, you know, you're not going to stop it from positive thinking. All you can do is, like, you know, try to get out of the way, I suppose, and I'm not sure that how possible that is. Anyway, the game we play in astrology is that we look at the horoscope and we see, oh, there's a Pluto return. Now, this usually means for a country or an empire that has experienced a Pluto return. And there are only two that I see written up with any satisfaction. I'm sure there were many Oriental empires that had a Pluto return, and you know, certainly China and Egypt have had Pluto returns quite often. And you know, there are other great empires in the East, which I haven't been reading my Toynbee, so I don't know who they are. But I do know that they talk about Rome a lot, and they talk about the British Empire a lot. And now the United States, being a relatively new country, is experiencing its first Pluto return. And basically the prediction is it's going to go kaput. The United States government. And, you know, the point of this video is that I can see the country unraveling as we speak. And I'm looking, you know, more specifically at the wars that the United States is in. But the government seems to be filled with a bunch of teenagers and even both parties are, well, I don't know if you could exactly call President Joseph Biden, a teenager. He's more on the elderly side, although he's not really that old. That old. He's not, much older than or about the same age as Bernie Sanders, for example. And Bernie Sanders is very vital and so on. Now Biden is extremely frail, but that doesn't mean he's stupid. I mean, he's a little slow, but that could be a neurological thing, or it doesn't mean he's stupid. But he is stupid. He wouldn't have to be just because he looks, very frail. I don't suppose that would mean he would necessarily be stupid. But anyway, he's not controlling events very well. And then he has these, what I refer to the teenagers, I referred to his Secretary of State. Imagine a Secretary of State, I mean, we think of, big time, big deal people. Well, we have this Anthony Blinken, who seems to go from one faux pas to the other. Maybe it's just time for him to, go sit down for a while. I'm sure he's way more talented than I am, for example, and I think well of myself. But he's committed a number of faux pas. The latest being, playing his guitar. I keep wanting to say saxophone, but that's somebody else. So. In times where more gravitas would be called for in the Ukraine, he plays his what he thinks is a patriotic tune, which was really written. The title was really written as an ironic touch, is the way I understand it, by one Neil Young, and I can't remember the name of the tune actually, but it's in the papers. You'll see it. But it didn't really mean the way he takes it. In other words, it was meant to be ironic, and Anthony Blinken is taking it as literal. So that's wrong. That's not very sophisticated. And what else? Lots of congressmen are going totally apeshit. I mean, there's always been a few that have been, off the track, but you got a lot of them now, and parents. So I mean, they're there because the American public wants them there, And I myself voted for Trump, twice, and not a third time, I don't think, but. He's totally off his rocker. Besides being criminal, now it's becoming pretty obvious that the man operates by his own rules. He would be fit in with the great Romans, who made their own law. Were famous for many crimes and were still in power. So it's kind of what he's out of control. And it looks like, now if I was any kind of astrologer, I would make a prediction, that one of these guys, Biden or Trump, wouldn't be the elected and then I would wish, try to speculate ahead. Well, this is Kamala Harris. In fact, I did that on one of my previous videos. I predicted Kamala Harris, all by this time, by the way, I said, would be president of the United States. Well, I was wrong. She's not. But anyway, today I'm really just talking about the fact that the United States is finished. It's doing everything wrong, and it's backing up the Israel war is very ill-advised, not to speak of immoral and murderous. And in fact, there's not one congressman that'll do anything about it. Well, there are probably a few. But that's really, like, things have really got out of control. And guess what, kids? It's going to get worse. So that's why I'm talking today. And not that anybody listens to my podcasts, but it's just I like to put these on the record as saying, I told you so. And so this is Bill Kennick saying, on May the 17th, saying, I told you so. And we'll see you again.